it's extraordinary that prosecutors in a case involving physical violence against officials, perhaps even the former President Obama and his wife, are citing a posting by another former president. Again, we don't know if Trump read what he posted. We don't know if this guy read it, but it's incredible.
Well, it's a Trump reposts basically an old article where, the streets where the Obamas live in Washington, it was right after he left the White House, is mentioned. And then this individual posts that under his "I'm here, we've got them surrounded" post. So the timing is too coincidental to be an accident, at least on the part of Taylor Torrento, who seemed to follow that post, read that post, repost it, and then go straight there. The day before, on Wednesday, the 28th, he had a totally different target. He was focused on the National Institute for Standards and Technology, which fits into a lot of QAnon conspiracies. Right after that, he's literally on the street where the Obamas live, where the Podestas live, saying, we've got them surrounded. I'm looking for the tunnels underneath, that connect the houses and, the entranceways and so on.
So he's a real QAnon.
He's a conspiracy theorist, a stolen election theorist, a January 6th rioter. He was literally right there immediately after the woman was shot, breaking through the window by the Capitol Police in the heart of the Capitol. And of course, all the other QAnon theories that he has posted about on his social media.
Maggie, in terms of the former president, I feel like we've had this discussion probably a gazillion times, but does he read the stuff he retweets?
Sometimes not. And, he finds it in different ways. Often he looks at the replies to what people write to him. It's been harder to discern what some of his habits are using his own social media site as opposed to what he did with Twitter, when there were a lot of aides who were either helping him or working in the White House under him. But sometimes he does. But he has been much more, to use the word reckless, I think it's appropriate here. He's been much more reckless in terms of what he is willing to repost or retruth or whatever he calls it on his site. And he is constantly, reposting content that had he done it on Twitter, it would have gotten a lot of different attention. And had he been doing it on Twitter before he was banned, it would have created all kinds of consternation at the pre-Elon Musk company. I think that, as John said, it appears as if the timing is related to this gentleman's showing up at former President Obama's home. It is hard to ignore the fact that, a lot of people who are adherents of QAnon or who, listen to Trump's verbal cues on other issues have looked at his social media feed over time and taken inspiration from it.
Well, he also plays up to QAnon. There's no doubt about it.
And more now than he ever did before. Yeah. There were sort of winks and nods when he was in the White House. Now it's just much more open in various ways, including at his rallies.
Yeah. I think if you look at that last tweet where he's got himself in silhouette and the words on his graphic is "the storm is coming," which is the QAnon slogan. That was the day he kind of went over from saying, "Well, I only vaguely understand them and they seem nice people."
Right. I don't know who they are, but they say nice things about me.
Right. To associating himself directly with the iconology of QAnon. Right.
Jonathan, the Secret Service obviously, they have enough challenges trying to take care of everyone under its protection. It's, again, just extraordinary to me that at least on some level, they now also have to worry about a former president posting information that could potentially endanger other officials and other former presidents.
Anderson, it's crazy that we're even talking about this, right? But we've actually discussed how threatening language in highlighting attributes of an individual by a prominent public official, such as the former president, is dangerous. And, as we were just discussing, those messages can be misinterpreted. They can be misinterpreted as a call to physical action or harm against an individual or people associated with them. Think about the issue with Paul Pelosi. So these statements that are made, these postings, they go beyond social norms. They're actually they have a consequence, and we know that these messages have a consequence, not just from the actions of January 6th, but in this case as well. We have an individual who feels empowered to act and engage in some sort of conspiracy theory action because he feels supported by online postings. He thinks that that he's being directed or inspired by either the former president or proxies. That is so dangerous, not only for the Secret Service in the protection of the former presidents, but for law enforcement broadly in protection of all public officials.
John, it does seem like in this case, he got on their radar pretty quickly, and they seem to kind of keep track of him.
So, he was on the FBI radar because of his January 6th things. And in fact, one of the strangest parts about the saga here is he was posting in his own social media, here I am, come and get me. I'm a January 6th rioter. Look, Mom, I'm an insurrectionist, and baiting the FBI as they were developing that case. Here you see a system that really worked because FBI Washington field office is, detecting he's live streaming from Washington. The Capitol Police put out a be on the lookout for, and, they've got his picture and information on his vehicle. The Secret Service Uniform Division actually spots him and brings agents into the area, and it all comes together before something happens. Here's a guy who was talking about having a self-driving vehicle that he was going to load with explosives and crash into the NIST building in Gaithersburg, Maryland, before he kind of self-redirected to the Obamas. Could he have done that? There was fuel in the vehicle, gasoline. There were rags and bottles. It's the kind of thing you'd make Molotov cocktails from. Was he building a large incendiary device for the back? He had a steering wheel lock, which you could have, activated the accelerator and kept it on a straight path towards a building. Far-fetched, amateurish, but certainly when you put together what he was driving around with and what he was talking about doing, it's probably good that they stopped him when they did.
And Maggie, just in terms of the former president, he spent the 4th of July, it sounded like he was having a really happy 4th of July. He spent it, posting about there was an F. Biden, a picture of himself dressed up as George Washington, another depicting the burning of the White House. There was these attacks on the special counsel today, which seemed especially low. What is going on with him?
I think the version of it, yes, you are seeing an angrier version of Trump, and I know people around him like to say, oh, he's not angry about these indictments. He is angry about these indictments, and you are seeing it play out. But what I would argue, Anderson, is the version of him that you are seeing now, that we have seen on the campaign trail, is the version of him that we started seeing in 2020, in the lead up to his claims, his false claims about the November 2020 election. He was planning on doing all kinds of things in his final year in office, seizing control of the federal bureaucracy, making changes to it, getting the White House that he wanted in terms of staffing, and this sort of anger and undercurrent of retribution. A lot of this is very authentic him, but I think this is his most authentic version.
Maggie Haberman, appreciate it. John Miller as well, Jonathan Wackrow as well. Thanks so much.